Hello, hello, I'm Carl Harvey and welcome to a brand new and very special edition of The Big Life. I am super excited because today you're going to discover how to make your next big move so you can create the big life that you want. On this training, you're going to learn how to consistently experience high performance and explode the amount of energy you feel so you can start to reach even your biggest goals with ease and passion and more fun and love. Plus, you're going to learn how to reprogram your mind for more success, to overcome the limiting thought patterns that keep you stuck, and discover proven, simple steps you can take to dramatically increase the amount of financial abundance you experience. And it's all thanks to my special guest today. He's the #1 New York Times best-selling author of the incredible books, The Charge, The Motivation Manifesto, and The Millionaire Messenger. Over 50 million people have watched his awesome videos in the past 12 months. He's also the founder of Experts Academy and High Performance Academy, and he's helped literally millions of people to create bigger lives, including some of the most successful people on the planet. His work, as you'll discover, is an unapologetic assault on boredom, distraction, mediocrity, and living a small life. He will directly call into question why you would allow yourself to live at the energetic level where you currently reside, and he will aggressively yet lovingly challenge you to live a more vibrant, powerful, and engaged big life. And last but by no means least, he is the #1 most requested guest ever on The Big Life, and we've been persisting for 18 months to bring him on the show for you. So here, very much by popular demand, please give a huge welcome to the incredible Brendon Burchard, my man.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Thanks for having me, buddy. It's great to see you.
Oh, my pleasure, man. So excited to have you on. And as always on The Big Life, let's get straight into the juicy stuff and add as much value as we can. First question, though. Have you always been a high performer with this sky-high confidence and poise and abundance and fame? Or did you have to work on it like the rest of us?
I still work on it. Good. You know, the defining sort of metaphor of my life and my teaching has always been that the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates energy. Boom. And that was just a huge, mind-blowing, energetic shift in my life because, you know, at some points you think, well, I've had sadness, I had a bad day, I have depression, I have these upsets. And sometimes you have to realize, step back, it's like, do I have those or am I generating those? Like, you don't have joy. You don't one day wake up and, I have happiness today. It's like, no, you generate happiness. You generate joy by choice, by will, by discipline, by sheer intention and volition. And that was like a huge shift for me because I wasn't always like this. I was pretty miserable. When I was a younger kid, you haven't heard my brief stories, I had a car accident. And right before the car accident, I broke up with the first woman I ever loved. Right. She had cheated on me and it wrecked me. Sometimes when your relationships fall apart, you sort of fall apart with it. And that's what happened to me. I fell into a deep depression as a 19-year-old kid. And sometimes when you're that young and you haven't studied the work that you and I teach now, you don't know what to do with those emotions. That amount of stress and amount of hurt, you don't know what to do with it. So a lot of people, they just kind of go within and not in the positive way. They go in negatively and they start hating themselves. And they're self-loathing. And by the end of a year after our breakup, I was suicidal and not thinking about it, like planning it. And then I had this car accident and it gave me the greatest gift of my life. I call it life's golden ticket. And what I think we all have, life's golden ticket, is a second chance. And I got a second chance. And I learned in my survival from that experience was that at the end of our lives, we're all basically going to evaluate our lives based on the questions we ask, right? You get to the end of your life, and if you have a moment of cognition, you look back and you say, did I like it? Was I happy? Was I a good person? You ask all these questions to evaluate whether or not you were proud of your life and felt fulfilled of your life. And what I realized, the questions I asked were threefold. The first question was, did I live? Because I remember as the car was sliding into this corner, my friend was driving, and we lost control of the car going about 85 miles an hour into a really sharp corner. And in the US, that corner would have had one of those U-turn shaped arrows, be careful, watch out, sharp corner ahead, but there was no sign. So we round the corner, my friend screams, Brendon, hold on. And I remember this brace And if you've ever been there and you have a moment of cognition, you really think about life. Yeah. And maybe it's not in the immediate second sense, but there's this weird slow motion thing happen. And I just remember, if this is it, did I live? And I don't know really if it was a cognitive thing at that moment or later on I interpreted and felt this meaning, but there was no question that later on when I look back at the situation, having blessed to survive, I thought, did I live my life? Not somebody else's life, not a friend's life, not a parent's life, my life.
Right.
And I didn't like the answer to that question because I hadn't been living my life. I've been thinking about taking it. And so you get a good gut check with mortality. My second question that I experienced was, did I love? Did I love openly and honestly and completely? And those words kind of came to me because you think about the people who you're going to miss.
Fuck yeah.
And you think about the people who are going to miss you. And it invites this question about the heart, about relationships, about did I really connect with and adore and appreciate and live through my heart with people, and did I love? No, I got my heart broken. So I shut everybody off, so that we all do. When you get hurt, you build up a wall to keep everybody out.
Yeah.
To keep out the bad guys, but you also block out the good guys, which is what happened to me. I blocked out all the good people in my life because, I say it now all the time, in self-protection, we often block out the very thing we so desperately desire, which is connection.
Wow.
And, you put on the mask, you build up the wall to keep everyone else out, but nobody good can get in. And then the last question I experienced when the car crashed, I got knocked out. I came to, my friend was screaming to get out of the car. He managed to climb outside the driver's side window. I went out to try to go out my window, but it was smashed down. And so I pulled myself up through the windshield of this car. And I was standing there, just covered in blood everywhere, and terrified. And I remember just feeling the sense of faint and the sense of passing out. And I remember just looking down at all the blood that was pooling around my feet, just thinking, did I even matter?
Feel that.
Was there a purpose to this? Was there a reason I was here? Maybe I didn't change the world, but did I change somebody's world? And I didn't like the answer to that question too. And looking back, now I realize, 19-year-old kid, what the heck did I know about making a difference or service or mission and the stuff you and I talk so passionately about? But those questions, they shaped me. The blessing for me was in that moment when I felt like I was going to pass out. I looked down and the blood was going off the hood of the car, and there was this glint, sort of reflection in the blood, and it made me look up. And there was this just big, beautiful moon that night, and it was just firing up the sky. And if this fear had shot down, this faith kind of came right back up, and I just felt like this blessing and this connection. And I felt like the big guy had handed me life's golden ticket. Hey, kid, you're still alive. You can still love. You can still make your difference. But now the clock is ticking. And 19-year-old kid to face mortality, get that second chance, I just thought, I will earn this. And I think when people can look and envision the end of their life and they can think, what are the questions I'm going to ask myself to evaluate whether or not I was happy with my life? And then they can choose that in this moment it's a blessing, that they're alive, they have breath, they have choice, they have free will. And then to do the tough work of asking, am I going to earn this gift? Am I going to earn this life? And that's been a central part of my life since then. Amazing that this next year is my 20th anniversary of that accident. And so this is my 19th year, 19 years. Every night I go to bed and I ask, did I live today? And I honestly evaluate myself.
Yeah.
Did I love today? And I honestly evaluate, did I matter today? And it's not like every day I'm superhuman. I'm like, I'm awesome.
Every day.
I have plenty of, negative moments throughout the day or negative thoughts throughout the day. But at the end of that day, it's never a bad day because I feel like I've learned something, if anything. And I also feel a sense and a connection to, after having that intention for so long and living it every day, that I'm a pretty lucky guy. I'm confident in who I am because I had an intention for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confident in what I'm doing because I asked so many years. It's not like I discovered it immediately, my work. I didn't discover my life's passion in some blazing moment of awesome. It wasn't like that. Yeah, I was something was like, you're not going to walk out the front door today and the piano of purpose is going to fall on your head and you go, oh, some people might have that blessing. The most of us have to work through a bunch of crap that we do like and we don't like to finally discover like what really ignites us a little bit more and follow that interest line until it gets into a passion line, until it gets into a calling line. But that's a journey. And once I found all that, I came alive.
Beautiful. I think so many people struggle with that, and I know going back a few years I did as well. I started reading about purpose and passion, and I was like, oh well, I don't know my purpose, and started to panic and not do anything. But then I discovered that it's, as you describe, it's step by step, figuring out more about yourself, going inside, more of what you like, more of what you don't like, and sort of meandering towards it. What sort of advice would you give people currently in that place of going, well, I don't know what my purpose is. How do I get started to even discovering that?
Yeah, I would say, one, be proud of the fact that you don't have an ego yet that would say your defining purpose.
Nice.
Because those who believe that, I think they're not in the modern world. The modern world is, I have 900 people at a seminar, 46 countries, and I'll always ask this. I say, how many of you in this room right now feel like you're kind of in a transition in your life? Would you stand up? Everybody stands up.
Yeah.
Everybody is in a moment of transition right now because the world is changing, the economy is changing, technology is changing, availability, connection, everything is changing so completely that everyone is on a new footing almost every day. And it's great when we have a solid grounding in our values, our beliefs, who we are as a human being. But finding one definitive purpose, I think that's a little old school. I think what we can have is multiple purposes that we're deeply tied to that might form an intentional character, a person who I want to become and be and live as and be a role model. To your question of what I would suggest to people who really struggle with that, I would say stop thinking you have to have this universal purpose. And instead, maybe your purpose is to improve to the greatest extent of your potential and your humanity the different areas of your life.
Love it.
We've got, instead of trying to have this one amazing blazing sunlight in our life, it's like realizing there's actually lots of different chambers in our house in life, and it's to light them all up as much as we can. It's like you've got your health, you've got your mission, you've got your family, you've got your friends, you've got your hobbies, you've got your finances, and you've got your spirituality. That's 7 areas of our life. If you're struggling to find one purpose, here, let me pretend to have the ego to grant that or give it. Here's what it is. Improve each of those areas as much as you can. Be disciplined about improving each of those areas as much as you can. And as you improve each area of your life as much as you can, I really believe that means now you're really truly walking your path.
Yeah.
And those who are walking their own path, purpose opens to them slowly, but for sure. And so that's what we got to do. We got to aim to improve as many areas of our life as we can. And then we start hitting a groove and finding who we truly are. Because I both know a lot of people, and they would say without question, they know their purpose in their mission, their work,
Right.
their contributions. But they're a miserable, suffering asshole.
Exactly.
Because their friends hate them, their wives hate them, their neighbors hate them. And so they would say they have purpose, but really they don't have a purposeful life. And life means all 7 of those areas. So improve all 7 of those areas, and you'll start to settle into a truth of who you are that will feel that thing that you call a calling or a purpose or a sense of self and certainty. And from that place, you'll be stronger.
Love it, man. Beautiful advice.
Sorry for swearing on your show.
It's all right, man. You're more than welcome. It's okay. It's not a PG, this show. Real good. Dude,
Okay.
ever since I read Think and Grow Rich 6-7 years ago, I became fascinated with the idea that successful people think differently and they see the world differently. And from studying your work and going through all your courses, reading your books, you've taught me an awful lot about some of the distinctions between how successful and unsuccessful people think and see the world. Can you touch on some of those? In short, how do successful people think, and how can we start to see the world through that lens or paradigm so that we can achieve some of the same results that successful people get? More happiness, more abundance, more flow, more love, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great question. And first, I like to just caveat of, when I say successful people and unsuccessful people in this context, it's really not labeling people, because at some point, honestly, I still this day, I can be unsuccessful in my thinking about one area. But when we say a successful person, what we mean is a person who really feels like they're vibing at their optimal potential. And what's going to get them there is it's a different quality of thinking. And the way I think about it is, if you have a goal or a dream, a mission, a defining value set or purpose or purposes in your life, then successful people just perceive it differently. Where an unsuccessful person will look at some big dream, some big hope, some aspiration or some role model, and they'll say, well, I can't have that.
Right.
I don't have the resources to do that, the list to do that, the fame to do that, the money, the backing. I don't have something to do that. And they'll stop. A successful person will also say, in truth, I don't have those things. But they make it a to-do list to go get those things.
Right.
So instead of stop, they both acknowledge the truth. It's just that one acknowledges truth, takes it as a disempowering thing to stop. One acknowledges truth and says, well, I better go do that. And it becomes their defining agenda. That's all. It becomes a defining agenda to go get that. And so another thing is, people who they look at that goal, the dream, they say, well, I don't know how to do that. So it's a competency thing. And they say, well, I don't know how to do that. And they stop. Successful people say, well, I don't know how to do that. So it becomes a learning mission for them. Right. They're like, I am going to go figure it out. Here's one of the defining things I really truly believe about successful people is they really truly believe in their ability to figure things out. They're just like, I'll figure it out. Even if they don't know squat. Like you and me starting our careers doing what we do, we had no idea how to do this.
Building websites and all of that, like it was a foreign language.
Yeah. It was just ultimately us saying, we'll figure it out. We'll stumble, we'll bumble, and I think it takes a lot of humility to say, I'll learn, I'll figure it out. Unsuccessful people, it sounds so weird. Everyone to this day thinks successful people have the ego. Actually, successful people became successful because they were willing to fall on their face a lot more. They had the humility to learn, where an unsuccessful person is just constantly beating on themselves, and they're trapped in their own conceptual cage of what's possible, which means their ego is preventing them from that growth. And so a successful person says, I don't know it, I will learn it. And then the last quality, so the first one was, I don't know, I don't have the stuff.
Yeah.
The successful person goes, I'll figure it out.
Uh-huh.
The second quality was, I don't know how. Successful person says, I'll figure it out. And the third one, which is my favorite one, is, an unsuccessful person will see a successful person like yourself, and they'll say, well, I'm not like that. I'm not like Carl. I'm not that funny, that good looking. I don't have the swag the dude got.
I work hard for this swag.
And so they say, well, I'm not like him, or I'm not like her, and they stop.
Right.
Because they compare themselves to an external thing and say, I'm like it or not, as if style mattered in success. It clearly does not. And so instead, a successful person will look at that and say, well, I'm not exactly like that, but you know what? I can run their same strategy. Let me notice what works for them. Let me notice the greatest, strongest parts of their attributes and see if I can find that in myself and summon that on a more consistent basis and become the greatest, strongest part of myself that I can, running the same strategies they did. And so it's just different. It's more intellectual. It's like, oh, well, I'm not like that, but I see that they have a web show. Okay. I'm not like that, but I see they spend a lot of time putting value out there and building a list. Well, I'm not like her. I'm not like funny, but I see that she's showing her personality and vulnerable. And so we can look at what we desire and not feel like we have to become like everyone else who has it, but find the strategies and then our own personal truth in getting there. And that's what I think makes us feel successful.
Brilliant advice. And I think also, just to add to that, it's understanding that where I am now is a result of 7 or 8 years of hustle and trial and error and failure and trying loads of different things. Someone sent me a copy of the first video I ever made a couple of weeks ago, and I was utterly swagless. Like, it was terrible. I ummed and ahed the whole thing. It took me 20 minutes to say like one idea, but I started, and I think that was the key. I was just like, okay, I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to give it a go, because I really wanted to create what I call a big life. And I think just in the act of starting something and going, you know what, I'll figure it out, there's boldness to that. And the universe will help you on your way if you keep going. Certainly that's been my experience.
I totally agree. I tell people all the time, that a lot of motivation, people sit around waiting for motivation to happen, then they'll go do stuff. I'm like, actually, as you do stuff, the motivation comes and grows and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Motivation comes in momentum. And it's like, as soon as we start getting a little momentum, we're even more inspired to go along with it and to build it. This is nothing particularly unique. I mean, Zig Ziglar said a long time ago, he said, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to become great. And it's like,
true that.
So it's like whatever your goals, your dreams are, if you don't have a habit or a routine that you're implementing every week, moving you towards it, you actually don't have a dream. You have an interest, maybe a hope, but that dream is never going to come into fruition, because we have to have true scheduled time doing something on a consistent basis to ever become successful at that very same thing,
Man, let's talk about that, because something that you and Tony Robbins taught me, actually, that I've shamelessly stolen and plagiarized for my own benefit and sharing it with the others, is the idea, and it's so simple, of just having a daily routine of getting up in the morning and committing some time to your growth and your goals before you start worrying about your emails and your phone calls and all the stuff you've got to do for the day. That simple shift has had a profound transformation on my life, on my ability to create the results that I want.